Good afternoon. Please be seated. I am honored to be among the first today to congratulate this impressive group on their accomplishments and achievements. I don't need to remind anyone that this has been a challenging year in many ways for many people. But these words remind us that we are nevertheless called to act purposefully, to pay attention, to express gratitude for the grand things and moments, but also for the unexpected places and times. For Mary Oliver praying, it doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Tausif. Welcome to all of you, students, faculty, staff, some family and friends who are here as well. It's wonderful to have all of you here today as we celebrate the academic accomplishments of some remarkable students. Today, we celebrate students who've distinguished themselves in a variety of ways, through membership in honor societies, as recipients of prestigious national awards and fellowships, and as winners of Carleton Awards and prizes. While their accomplishments differ, what these students share are the qualities that make Carleton students special: intellectual curiosity, energetic engagement, and commitment to the hard work of learning. The achievements of these students are even more remarkable in light of the challenging circumstances that impacted their culminating years at Carleton. In spite of many pivots and changes, they took full advantage of Carleton's broad liberal arts education, covering every area of the curriculum and undertaking significant research projects. Today's recognition is a tribute not only to your hard work, the students who are being honored today, but also of the faculty who taught and mentored you, the staff who supported you, and the friends and fellow students who formed part of your Carleton community. I'm so pleased that we're able to gather in person to honor all of you today. We are extraordinarily proud of you and your accomplishments. Congratulations to all of you. I now invite Dean of the College, Professor Gretchen Hofmeister, to the podium.
Good afternoon. I am extremely pleased to be able to stand with you here today to celebrate the conclusion of a successful academic year on this glorious day in our beautiful chapel. By returning to fully in-person learning and teaching this year, we've been able to enjoy one another's presence and connect more fully with one another. This hasn't been easy. In addition to the typical stressors of exams, performances, term papers, and competitions, everyone has been living with a great deal of uncertainty, disruption, and exhaustion caused by the pandemic. While, as President Byerly alluded, this context makes the achievements of the students whom we honor today all the more remarkable, I would also like to recognize the leadership, courage, trust, and commitment of everyone in this room. You, all of you, you are the ones who enabled us to reach this point today. I am proud of your achievements and contributions to the life and work of the college. The students whom we honor today are exceptional. Their extraordinary accomplishments are motivated by the highest of Carleton's academic values: curiosity, creativity, and intellectual adventure, engagement with the world around us, tenacious pursuit of knowledge, and a generosity of time and spirit. In honoring these students, we not only recognize their achievements, we also celebrate the core values of our community. So you have a nice hefty program today. You'll find in the program a list of many people who are being honored for a variety of things. There's a category, National Honor Society Awards, National and International Awards, Carleton Awards, Honors and Prizes, Department and Program Awards, Honors and Prizes, and finally, Fellowships and Internships. So I'm going to start off by recognizing those of you who have won National Honor Society Awards, and those are located at the front of the program. And then Dean Livingston is going to follow me with the remaining awards. So as I name each National Honor Society Award, I ask those of you who are receiving the honor to stand while I read the description. And here's the key: stay standing until I've announced all of those honors. And then I ask all of you in the audience to hold your applause until I've announced all of the honor societies. Okay, so those of you with mortarboard, you get to start. Mortarboard recipients, please stand. Mortarboard is a National Honor Society that recognizes students who have combined distinguished scholarship, leadership, and service to their colleagues and to the college community. The National Mortarboard approves the people whom we nominate before they are actually elected to membership. Okay, Phi Beta Kappa recipients, please stand. And I know there are a lot of you because I saw those certificates being signed in my office yesterday. Phi Beta Kappa was founded in 1776. It is a national honorary scholastic organization. The Carleton chapter, Beta chapter of Minnesota was established in 1913, and it elects to membership those students who rank in the highest 15% of their graduating class. And then finally, Sigma Xi recipients, please stand. Sigma Xi is a national honor society that recognizes scientific research. Election to the Carleton chapter of Sigma Xi indicates that a student has demonstrated evidence of research potential in a field of pure and applied science. So please join me in congratulating all of these individuals for their fantastic accomplishments.
So good afternoon as well, and thank you all for your contributions to the college. I stood for mortarboard because I was fortunate to be tapped by the students to be a part of mortarboard, and so thank you for the honor and allowing me to stand with you. So I will echo Dean Hoffmeister's sentiments when she says that it's nice to have something normal. And it's nice, and it is truly indeed a testament to you as students and the community for allowing us to be in this space. So as we continue our celebration of honoring our students, there are also other things in your program. After the National Honor Society Awards, there are some national and international awards and honors and Carleton Awards, honors and prizes. What I won't do is read the descriptions as they are printed in their entirety of the program, but I will read prize names, recipient names, to highlight just a few. And I will ask folks as I call your name to please stand, and then I'll just sort of provide some instructions when you're to sit down for each particular section. And so let me go ahead and apologize in advance if I mess your name up. My heart is so in the right place. It just may not come out that way. And so I will apologize. I try to do these right, but it doesn't always work that way. And so let us begin by doing the national and the international awards and honors. And we will start by recognizing a geo major by the name of Jaren Yambing. Jaren, please stand. Jaren received, yay. So Jaren received a Churchill Scholarship and will spend a year at Cambridge University doing research in the Department of Earth Sciences on the potential for carbon capture and storage of industrial slag. So Jaren, I had to actually go in and research the Churchill Scholarship. And so what I will say that you are one of 16 in the world who have received this Churchill Scholarship. There are 9 Nobel Peace Prize winners, 2 US presidents, and 1 prime minister. No pressure at all for you, Jaren, so congratulations. Max Yurtson, Marianne Gunnarsson, Leela Stokener received critical language scholarships. Please stand if you are here. Max will participate in the Summer Language Institute in Japanese. Marianne and Leela will participate in the Summer Language Institute in Chinese. Congratulations. Georgie Mukishimana received the Davis Projects for Peace. Georgie will use the support to work with the Nubikari Community Village to provide training in sewing and handcrafting to women in rural Rwanda. Congratulations, Georgie. Will Bosch, Ella Milliken, and Thomas White have received Fulbright fellowships. So Will will serve as an English teacher, English teaching assistant in Azerbaijan. Ella will research the practice of carbon capture through afforestation in Norway. And then Thomas will serve as an English teaching assistant in Spain. Congratulations. So Thomas, I know that your mom is watching, and we always say hello to each other, so hello, mom of Thomas who's watching. All right. Other awards that fall under the national and international awards and honors, we have the Minnesota Space Grant Consortium Award. Rory Brown, Beva Shofe, and Josiah Tussler are the recipients of the Minnesota Space Grant Consortium Award. The Donald G. Patterson Award in Psychology belongs to Maya Rogers. Congratulations. Maya will be taking her talents to the University of Minnesota for a PhD in psychology in the fall. Yuan Hauso received a Thomas J. Watson Fellowship. He will embark on a global year of experiential learning, exploring folk music traditions and endangered languages in several different countries. Congratulations. Now we move on to the Carleton Awards, honors, and prizes. And so let's begin with Madison Collins. Madison has received the Sarah F. Ham Alvarez and the R. Michael Alvarez Award for Applied Research, both from the class of 1986. Congratulations, Madison. The Carolyn Applebaum Prize in the Arts, McKenna Worth is the recipient. Congratulations. The James S. Berglund Class of 61 Social Science Prize is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. This prize was established in 1962, which might be older than 80% of the folks in this room, to honor the memory of James S. Berglund. It is awarded annually for the best essay or research paper written in the social sciences to best reflect Berglund's passion for economics, and that belongs to Win-Win Ui. And we have 3 recipients for the Scott Tyler Bergner Prize: Helen Du, Mehdi Shahid, and then Elliot Stork. Have to tell a really quick story about Elliot. Elliot was my advisee who said when we first met that he would prefer to never take a math class at Carleton, or math period, and that completely broke my heart as a math major. And I think he may have successfully done that by majoring in German and linguistics with a minor in Spanish. Is that right? Okay, all right. And he also may have founded the whole Quidditch thing when he was here as well. The class of 1885 prize, Sky Gullidge. Congratulations, Sky. The class of 1966 Diversity of Achievement Award, and we have 3 recipients for those. 2 have already stood, and we want them to stand again, and another new person. Those that have stood before would be Maya Rogers and Mehdi Shahid. The new person would be Clarissa Guzman as a recipient. Congratulations. The Margaret Dalton Curran Prize belongs to Sam Wingfield. The Dana Award for Personal Achievement, Arlo Heddle, and then Mickey Walsh. Annabella Strathman is receiving the Dimsdale Prize for Undergraduate Medical Research, which was created 15 years ago by Dr. Joel Dimsdale, the class of 1968, with the goal of supporting Carleton students interested in pursuing a career in medicine. The prize helps to fund off-campus research in medical studies and to give students valuable opportunities to engage with medical school professors and labs. Congratulations, Annabella. The Mike Ewers Award from the Minnesota Space Grant Consortium. We have 2 recipients, Mia David and Ian Valtovich. Three recipients for the David John Field Prize, Rebecca Hick and James McGee, and Alexis Walters. Congratulations. The Lawrence McKinley Gould Prize in Natural Sciences. Rebecca, you should just remain standing. Ayaka Moriyamo and Jed Villanueva are the 3 recipients. Rebecca kind of does this other thing like ballroom dancing. I heard you're pretty good at that. The Jefferson Natural Sciences Teaching Award. We have 2 recipients of that, and one of them might be your co-president of the ballroom dance team, which may be Stuart Crable. The second recipient is Katie Oda. Ayaka, I need you to stand one more time. As the recipient of the Sigrid and Erling Larson Award in Creative and Performing Arts, we have 2 recipients, Ayaka and Octavia Washington. Let me just make a really quick note about Octavia. She doesn't know this, but we have so many committees that review these awards, in particular, a lot of the service and honor awards. Octavia wrote so many references and recommendations for her peers. And something that the committee itself said, we've never really seen this at Carleton. And so thank you just for being thoughtful, Octavia. The Heim Loss Award for Global Engagement, 6 recipients. Elliot, please stand again. Anna Gwen, Santi Rico, Becky Shapiro, who's representing Syzygy in their national champion attempts, Leah Winston, and Ewan Housel. The David Maitland Robert Will Prize, 2 recipients, Grace Basiclay, and then Valentina Chala. The Mortarboard Prize, 2 recipients as well, Essie Ingram and Intense Obano. All right, Daisy Moses Award, Alex Harrison. If I'm pronouncing this right, the Noes Prize, and that will be Helen Du. All right, the Phi Beta Kappa First Year Prize. There are a lot of you, so please stand and remain standing. Karina Callahan, John Carragher, Isabella or Bella Frost, Simon Hippo Costello, and Emily Hoganson, Isabel Hoyt Nemich, if I mispronounced that, I'm sorry, Kai Johnson, Moy Kajima, Aiden Math, Vasily Vaganov, Josh Wu, Kimberly Yip, Jingyi Zhang. Congratulations. And the Phi Beta Kappa Second Year Prize, there are several of you as well. Jeremy Fleischhacker, Horace Fushji, Greta Hardy Mitchell, Helen Jen Lee, David Rock, Sebastian Fallon, and Rachel Sims. Congratulations. The lone recipient for the Reeve Prize would be Adam Smart. The Gene Smith Prize is Benny Dye. The Second Century Student Award, Maya, please stand again. We have 4, Audrey Gao, Imani Kindness Coleman, and then Javon Robinson. Really quick story about Javon. He's a really great cook, but he's never cooked for me. And also his mom, whenever she comes, she brings some amazing Jamaican patties to me. And so love your mom, Javon. Love you too. Harriet Sheridan Endowed Prize. There are 2 recipients of that, Helena Lee, and then Michelina Sosa. All right, we're about 80% done here. The Stussy Sustainability Award is Becca Horowitz. The Stimson Prize. So I told this student over dinner last night that she was going to be a PhD in econ, and she said, I think so. Delina Hollop. so with some amazing guidance under Jenny Bourne, Delina shared with us her COMPS project on crime recidivism, and the crime recidivism rate based on regional wage data, wages and hourly wage. And so absolutely fascinating. That type of work is going to change the world, so thank you. The Frank Stinchfield Prize is Charlotte Zenda. And love your middle name, Charlotte, they should ask you what it is. The Samuel Strauss Prize for Humorous Writing is celebrating its 40th anniversary, endowed in 1982 by Robert Strauss, the class of '73, in memory of his father. This prize is awarded to recognize accomplished humorous writing. Strauss wrote about this prize and his father in a New York Times article in 2001. He stated that his father was only funny unintentionally, and even then, not often. He knew he was bad at telling jokes, so he didn't try. Strauss went on to say that it's comforting to know that there in the great Minnesota heartland, there are college students who see my father's name and try to write something funny. Dad might not have laughed at the right time, at the right lines, but he would surely have written a way-to-go letter to each and every one of them. Phoebe Ward, you're the recipient of the Strauss Prize. Congratulations. The Technos International Prize, Win-Win-We. The next to the last prize, the Carleton Tony Award in the Arts, Michael Albrecht, Grace Haig, Will Josewich, Ayaka Murayama, and the very kind Octavia Washington. And the final award is the Mary Weiss Endowed Prize, is celebrating its 30th anniversary. In her time as an administrator at Carleton, Mary Weiss was a friend, ally, a mentor, and role model to many students. As a campus-wide tutoring coordinator, Mary worked to make graduation a reality for many students who would not have otherwise been able to achieve it. This prize honors students who demonstrate the same ideals that Mary embodied: kindness, discipline, respect for oneself and others, and the ability to show determination and commitment in overcoming challenging circumstances. Clarissa Guzman is one recipient. And the other recipient is Ana Pina Marcelino. So I am now pleased to recognize our distinguished students who have received departmental and program awards, honors, and prizes. These awards and the names of the recipients are listed in your programs. At this time, I will ask all those who have been awarded a departmental honor to please rise and be recognized together. And then finally, it is my honor to recognize those students who have been awarded fellowship opportunities this year. I'll draw your attention to these awards and the names of the student recipients, which are again printed in that nice booklet that you have. As the recipients rise and are recognized together, please join me in extending our congratulations for their accomplishments. So if you received a fellowship, please rise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gretchen and Carolyn. And thanks to all of you who have contributed to what is a wonderful afternoon, in particular for the faculty and staff up here applauding your accomplishments. I don't know if you can see what I can see up here, which is when some of us are making speeches, what faculty are doing is reading the names in the booklet of all the prizes and looking up their favorite students and feeling excited at the ways in which you're being recognized. So one more round of applause for all of you. Congratulations. It's a great pleasure for me to have the opportunity to introduce today's convocation speaker, Michael Martin, class of 2009. At Carleton, we take great pride in the accomplishments of our alumni, and Michael's path since graduation is a wonderful example of how curiosity, creativity, and determination of the kind nurtured at Carleton can lead to transformative solutions for critical problems. Michael came to Carleton from the small town of Rockport, Indiana, and wasted no time in taking advantage of all that Carleton had to offer. He quickly immersed himself in clubs and activities, including Debate Team, Model UN, International Relations Council, Engineers Without Borders, GIS Research Lab, Phi Beta Kappa, and the always educational position of RA. Michael also enjoyed opportunities to expand his experiential learning around the globe, taking part in multiple off-campus studies programs that had him studying American politics in DC, international sustainable community development in Greece, and political economies in China. He would later share with Carleton's alumni magazine, The Voice, that this program inspired him to work harder and deepened his desire to use his skills to help others. Like you, Michael sat in this very chapel as an honors student. As a Rhodes Scholar finalist, he graduated from Carleton summa cum laude with a bachelor's degree in political science and international relations. He then traveled the world to observe various organizational boards and gain experience in the clean energy industry before earning an MBA with high distinction from Harvard in 2015. Through his varied experiences, Michael came to recognize a problem, that emergency communication in the United States still worked on a 1960s analog-based system, leading to tens and thousands of fatalities annually. 4 years after graduating from Carleton, he co-founded RapidSOS to rebuild the global emergency response infrastructure, linking any connected device directly to 911 and first responders with potentially life-saving data, like name and location. In 2018, that technology went fully commercial at Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Uber, among others, with more than 150 million emergencies managed annually and more than 1,000 documented examples of lives saved. Recognizing both his innovation and impact, Forbes placed him on its 30 Under 30 in healthcare list in 2017. His venture won Harvard's President's Innovation Challenge in 2015, as well as the 2016 Consumer Technology Association's Startup of the Year Award, and it was named one of the top technology innovations of 2015 by the MIT Technology Review. Perhaps his most important award is that in 2019, he was recognized with a Carleton Alumni Association Award for pursuing paths in the spirit of Carleton. We're so appreciative that he's here to share some of that spirit with all of us today. Please join me in welcoming Michael Martin back to Carleton.
Thank you, President Barley, and it is so awesome to be back. And President Barley doesn't know this actually, but I've been quietly lobbying for this role for a while now. Actually, in 2015, I hacked the alumni database and sent a cold email to every single Carleton alumni, asking them to please donate to my Kickstarter campaign for RapidSOS, my exciting new startup. And now, ultimately, that wasn't very successful, but it feels fitting to be back here today at Carleton because that journey to build RapidSOS, which is this technology company that today links 400 million people in the most challenging, life-threatening moments, puts that directly into the hands of first responders. That all started right here. And I grew up basically as a super nerd in rural Indiana and came to Carleton not really knowing anything about dating other than what I'd seen in the movies. So naturally, I thought for one of my first dates at Carleton, I should probably follow the movies, right? So I'm thinking strawberries, sparkling apple juice. I was committed to the whole sub-free thing, lived on mustard. Went out to the Arb, watching the stars, everything I thought was going great. And then in the distance, I started hearing this whooshing. whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And it starts getting louder, right? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And then off in the distance, I start seeing this spotlight, like, hovering over the hilltops. At this point, we're thinking, this is weird. So we quickly grab our stuff, and we're walking back to my car. And we almost get there when all of a sudden, it is daylight out. And we get in the car, we start driving, and it is like this helicopter is going to land on my car. So I do, like, the only thing I can think of, which is, like, call 911. 911, what's the address of your emergency? There's a helicopter that is landing on my car right now. Excuse me, sir? Like, excuse me? There's a helicopter that's chasing me. I think maybe there's some sort of search going on in the county over. Let me try transferring you over there. 10 minutes later, I was parked at the wreck. There was still a helicopter hovering over my car. And we'd finally straightened out that I was who I said I was, and I was not, it turned out, some inmate that had escaped that evening that they were searching for. So what sounded like, though, this kind of like amusing story, let's actually just take a minute to unpack it, right? So I called 911. I didn't answer any of their questions. I didn't know my address. I didn't know, like, how to kind of handle that situation, right? And it took us 10 minutes to figure it out. They had to transfer me to a whole nother center. And, like, I think what's crazy about that experience is just how limited the information is. But I wouldn't really think about it more until 5 years later when I was walking home late one night in Spanish Harlem. And I had my welcome to New York City mugging experience, for lack of a better term. And that was the first time where I really started to think about this, right? So here I am, and this guy's basically assaulting me, and you're supposed to, like, get out your cell phone somehow, like, dial a number here, and, like, have this coherent conversation. I mean, literally, this guy's, like, kicking my butt, and it's like, excuse me, sir, like, how many ambulances are we gonna need when you're done beating me up, right? But, like, that's how this system works. And I think the other thing that is incredible is that the scale of that challenge. Any guesses on what percentage of Americans called 911 last year? I'll tell you what, you guys have all been working hard. I'm going to throw this one at the faculty. Any guesses? 8%? 40%? Okay. So I'm 35. I've called 911 a lot for my day job, but for in real emergencies 3 times. So that actually would be 8%, spot on. But it turns out that last year there were 250 million 911 calls. Spread out over 330 million Americans, that's about 75% of Americans calling 911 last year. Now, it's not evenly distributed, right? Like, there's super users of 911 with pre-existing health conditions and domestic violence, but this is this ubiquitous service that all of us rely on in the worst moments of our lives. And in those moments, 911 does not even know your name. I'm a bit of a data nerd. The data payload that 911 gets in an emergency is limited to 512 bytes. Now, we would never think about bytes of data anymore, so let me just kind of give an analogy. So the very first transatlantic telegram between the Queen of England and President Buchanan in 1858 was 617 bytes of data. So, like, here we are 165 years later with an iPhone in your pocket, and 911 typically doesn't even know your name. Over the past 8 years, we've partnered with thousands of first responders to try to take on and tackle that challenge. Today, RapidSOS links over 400 million devices with critical data. So these are wearable devices, smartphones, connected buildings, connected cars. If you have a heart attack, for example, your wearable device might detect that and immediately help facilitate that ambulance getting to you. The company's now about 200 people. It's worth about $500 million. And as I maybe was reflecting on my last 5 minutes here, I thought maybe I'd try to distill 3 lessons learned from that journey. And I'm going to try to do it with a quote for each of them, so we'll see how that goes. So I wanted to start with the famous philosopher Pitbull, who said, ask for money, get advice. Ask for advice, get money twice. So I learned that lesson in my Kickstarter when I reached out to all these Carleton alumni, and I think I got something like $60 of the $60,000 that I was trying to raise back. So in a moment of desperation, I went to my bank. I was in grad school at Harvard at the time, and I took out $500 and $1 bills. And I started going to all the undergrad dining halls. So these students are engrossed in their meals, and I would interrupt, give them all $1 bills, and ask them to please give that back to me on Kickstarter. I got like $70 back. So in hindsight, like every time that I've asked someone for money, it didn't go very well. And it's because really what I needed, right, was not so much money, it was advice, mentorship, and expertise. In the case of that Kickstarter, I needed someone to show me how to build a global movement to tackle a massive challenge. So I went back, thought about it some more, and cold emailed the 20 most prominent Harvard Business School alumni. These are presidents, Fortune 500 CEOs, heads of large nonprofits. And amazingly, 70% of them responded. And those folks would become advisors and mentors for this journey. And ultimately, they would help me raise $200 million, but more importantly, every mistake that we saw along the way, like they had been there and done that before. And it became so critical for building RapidSOS. I think that like a life well lived is full of new adventures and new experiences. And just thinking about some of the ones that you all are off to, like studying folk music on the Watson all over the world is amazing, right? And so I just want to encourage you to like find your own mentors and advisors to be a part of that journey, to guide and lead you on the way. And if I had to kind of reframe Pitbull's wisdom, I might try find mentors full of advice, drive impact that's 10 times as nice. All right. Maybe not meant to be a rapper here, so. All right, lesson 2. Feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Natasha Bedingfield. I will never forget the very first 911 call that I listened in on. I was in rural Massachusetts, and it was a mom who called after her son had committed suicide. And she was hysterical, screaming for an ambulance on the phone. And I actually took off my headset after 15 seconds, and I walked outside. It was a beautiful day like today. The 911 telecommunicator couldn't do that. She stayed on the phone with that mother for the next 9 minutes and waited with her until the ambulance arrived. I showed up that day at that 911 center thinking that I was this tech savior that was like gonna somehow solve all the problems for 911. And what I learned, right, was just a sliver of the extraordinary work of the people of 911 saving 250 million lives a year. We would go on to study 12 million 911 calls after that experience, looking at every single question that 911 had to get a response, figuring out how can we digitize that, right, and answer the question with data to try to accelerate that response. We would ultimately work with over 5,000 first responders, ultimately to build that platform. And so as you think about wherever your next adventures lead you, where your passions drive you, I really want to encourage you to go where that community of people is, to go where that need is, to go where the people are that are experiencing those challenges, and feel the rain on your skin, because no one else can feel it for you. Lesson number 3. O Carleton, our alma mater, for thee we sing our praise, for thee we fight, for thee we pledge the strength of all our days. Carleton fight song. It's an extraordinary thing what each of you have accomplished. I'm guessing that everyone here, despite all the academic accolades that we just went through, you've gone through your share of adversity, certainly a pandemic. But you've also probably gone through family challenges. You've traveled around the world to be here. Socioeconomic challenges, right? Potentially bullying or things like that. And yet, you've overcome it all to sit in this room and be recognized for extraordinary academic achievement at one of the top institutions of the world. That is an extraordinary thing. I grew up kind of this nerd in Indiana, didn't even know how to go on a date, and like, Carleton shaped my curiosity. Carleton showed me the world. Carleton would go on and teach me how to take on big challenges. Today, RapidSOS supports about 400,000 emergencies every single day. And I wanted to just share one of those recently. It was a mom who called after she went into labor early. She was home by herself, and she passed out on the phone with 911. We were able to get enough data into the hands of the paramedics that they actually showed up at her townhome. They had to break down the front door, and when they arrived, the child was born but unconscious. Mom was also unconscious. They did CPR on both, and both are alive today. And like, that child is alive because of the extraordinary place that Carleton is. the tools that it has equipped all of us have to go out and take on this world. So I'm here to say that you aren't done yet. The world is full of big challenges. 911 just happened to smack me in the face one night, literally. As you head towards the ends of the academic year, I want to ask, what do you care about? What challenge is worthy of your time, your energy, and this extraordinary institution that has prepared us to enter the world? We need you to pledge your fight, the strength of all your days to solve those challenges, worthy of your talent, the energy, and the extraordinary education that all of us have received here. So thank you for letting me spend a few minutes with you today, and I hope at some point I get a cold email from one of you telling me about how you're changing the world. But congratulations again, quite an accomplishment.
Thank you very much, Michael, for those remarks. I'll be following up with you on that opening anecdote. I'd like to learn more about how you managed to hack the alumni directory. I'd now like to invite Chaplain Akbar to give the valedictory.
This prayer song by the Mexica poet Nezahualcóyotl expresses our deepest hopes and prayers for you. I, Nezahualcóyotl, ask about it. Is it true that one lives with roots on earth? Nothing is forever on earth, just a little bit here. Though it be jade, it breaks. Though it be gold, it wears away. Though it be quetzal plumage, it is turned asunder. No forever on earth, just a little bit here. But in this brevity, humankind searches for God, for truth and beauty, which is what endures. My flowers will not perish, my songs will not cease. I, singer, elevate them, they distribute themselves, they scatter. Even when the flowers wither and yellow, they will be taken there to the interior of the house of the golden feathered bird. And when one finds it, one has found a meaning for life. Finally, my heart understands it. I listen to a song. I contemplate a flower. Blessings and peace be upon you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tausif. That was lovely. I hope that all of you will join us for refreshments on the South Chapel lawn immediately following today's recessional. Now please rise and join me in singing the Alma Mater, which is on the back of the program. And once again, congratulations to all of our students, and thank you all for coming.